Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan from the Rocks and Stocks News website. As many of you know, I'm also the president and CEO of Advanced Lithium. This is my junior mining company that I run. We had some important news out recently, about 10 days ago, that I wanted to talk about today. I'm actually going to share my screen and bring up the news release because there's a lot of good information in that news release. Advanced Lithium sells its Kenya royalty to Origin Royalties and acquires the Serape Gold Project. We had been involved with this Kenya project for a number of years. It was a very high quality project in that Barrick Gold was our partner on this in the past. In fact, I had been able to negotiate an agreement with Barrick Gold for them to acquire our royalty in 3 claims in Kenya, in the Loranda corridor. Unfortunately for us, Barrick sold their Kenya interests to Shanta Gold, and that kiboshed the agreement we had with Barrick. So I had been looking to sell this royalty for a number of years, and then Origin Royalties came along, and they were interested in the Kenya project. They wanted to give us some money, 120,000 US dollars, and an excellent project in Mexico called Serape. And I really believe that this is probably a better deal than the one that I had negotiated with Barrick, because that was an all-cash deal. And I think that this Serape project is excellent and could turn into a very significant project for the company. What makes this exciting, I'll just put it into context. I live in Mexico, a place called Zacatecas, Mexico, which is a hub of where 10%, around a 100-mile radius, 10% of the silver ever mined in the history of mankind has been mined here in the Zacatecas region. And it has been mined from epithermal veins. So I'm always on the lookout for good projects. And one of the areas that I had been excited about was the Rio Sonora Valley. And the reason that I had been excited about that is not only was it prospective for gold and silver, it was also prospective for copper. With what's going on with the copper, with batteries, hence our name, Advanced Lithium, we have a bunch of lithium projects in Mexico, but I've had a lot of my career in gold and silver exploration. And so I'm always looking out for those kind of projects. And this came along, and I had been looking in this Rio Sonora Valley, but what kind of stopped me in my tracks was the fact that all of the ground in the area had been staked up by big companies, juniors, and some majors. And part of the reason for the excitement in that area is that there's some big mines in there. Santa Elena, which is owned by First Majestic, has the Ermitaño mine, which is a series of epithermal veins. And then to the north of them is Silvercrest's Las Chispas project, which is also an exceptional project in epithermal veins. And then to the north of that is Serape. So I really didn't know if we could get involved there. And for this deal to come along, the Serape project is 57 square kilometers. So it's a nice big project in a highly prospective region. I'm scrolling down so you can see what really got me excited, not just the mines to the south, Silvercrest, who's done extremely well with Las Chispas, and Ermitaño, which is one of First Majestic's best performing mines. So that's very exciting. Another thing that I think investors should pay attention to is that Origin had been in this area for a very long time. In fact, they were the ones who optioned the Ermitaño project to First Majestic. Then First Majestic found the mine, and now Origin, which is a royalty company, has a 2% royalty on an exceptional mine. So in addition to Ermitaño, they also have the Serape project. And I'm tremendously excited about this Serape project for several reasons. One is that there's already a 5-kilometer long epithermal vein on the project called Serape Vein. Now, everywhere that it outcrops, the Origin folks have done surface sampling, and they've got wide distribution right along that vein wherever it outcrops. That's a good place to start poking around holes. There had been a couple of majors in there in the past, and they did exploration like majors will, in that they have a 5-kilometer vein. They only tested from 2 drill hole setups and a few different angles to those setups. So they really only tested about 200 meters of strike of a 5,000 meter vein. And it's important to note on these epithermal veins that there can be distribution of grade along strike, zonation of grade along strike, and at depth. So if you only explore 200 meters of what's 5,000 meters long, you're not really going to have a great chance to understand the distribution, the zonation of grade along strike, if it's wavy sort of and dips down, or especially at depth, which is tremendously important. So now what I would like to do on that vein is I would like to do a fence of holes, maybe down about 300 meters along strike, and to understand the zonation of grade along strike. Hopefully the idea is when you do a fence of holes like that is that you're going to tag into the top of the boiling zone up of an epithermal vein. And then you use that to vector deeper to understand the zonation of grade at depth. This is a sort of a model that First Majestic used to find the Ermitaño vein. It's a gold and silver vein, high grade, high margin. And we want to, roll up our sleeves and get very serious about Serape. But then there's that one strikes northwest to southeast. There's another vein that strikes east-west on the property that outcrops as well, and that's called the Chiltepan vein. Only one hole has ever been drilled in that, and there's been some very good surface sampling where the vein comes to surface. The kind of vein that or the kind of grade that you generally see above the boiling zone of an epithermal vein. And so the Chiltepan vein also needs some thorough examination. Now, in these epithermal veins, they often come in clusters. We have the Tabasqueña vein, which is kind of a similar story in that there was 2 veins that came to surface that had been mined in one instance, but only down to about 100 meters. And then there was a parallel vein to that. So what we did is we went in and drilled the main vein below the past mining. And then when we intersected it, we continued. Actually, we found some blind veins before we hit the main vein. We kept on going because we kept on seeing alteration beyond. So the rocks had been altered by something, and we kept on going and we found additional veins. So when it was all said and done, when we had stepped back, we found approximately 25 blind veins near that main Tabascania vein. This is a model of exploration that has played out because a lot of times in these epithermal veins, sometimes your best veins are the blind veins. In the case of Juanicipio and Valdecanis, which is owned by Mag Silver over by Fresnillo, they had those two veins that now make them, are now being mined, or the one vein is being mined, and they're going to bring the other vein into production. Those were blind veins, and following the alteration is a good way to find blind veins, which brings up the topic of Ermitaño again, because in addition to the main Ermitaño vein, they have also found a blind vein that looks quite exceptional. And rumor is that they've also found another blind vein that looks like it has a lot of potential. It's not easy to find this information from big mining companies, because they don't really talk a lot about their exploration. But I think you're going to hear more about blind veins at Ermitaño. That it goes to show that in these places where you find outcropping epithermal veins, when you go deeper, you can also find blind veins. So when we attack the Serape vein, we'll be looking for additional alteration beyond the main vein. We'll probably set up from, that's another thing, they only set up from the east side of the vein and they drill back this way. We want to do a sort of a fence with one on the east, one on the west, one on the east, one on the west, one on the east, one on the west, along the strike of that Serape vein. The idea behind that is we want to be looking for the zonation of grade along strike of Serape, but we also want to give ourselves a chance of finding blind veins. And so if you drill into this side, you can miss blind veins. So we want to drill both directions along strike to see if we can see more alteration or additional veins, because these blind veins can be tremendously important in an epithermal vein. And for example, not far from Tabascania, about 4 kilometers away, is the Milagros mine. That was historically mined along 2 veins that came to surface. And when they got deeper, they did a cross cut to connect the 2 veins. They found a blind vein that was tremendously profitable, very extreme high grade. And that's just because sometimes these epithermal veins won't make their way to surface. And you've got to look around for these blind veins. It looks like it's working at Ermitaño, and we want to try to make it work at Serape. So those are some of the highlights. As you can see here in this image, this is a photo of the Serape vein itself, outcropping. That's a pretty impressive looking outcrop right there. There's also some other similarities between Serape and Ermitaño. The vendor or origin, they have a bunch of the core from Ermitaño, and they have core from the drilling at Serape. And if you look at these 2 core samples, in fact, Patty Nickel, who runs Origin, told me that he has a core of both those veins, and they look like they could be the exact same vein, even though they're several kilometers apart. And so there's a lot of really good things going for that Serape vein and Chiltepin, and the potential to find blind veins. For example, at Serape, there had been some near surface intersections. One of those was 2.4 meters of 3.76 grams per ton gold and 15.3 grams per ton gold. Another hit 24 meters of 0.18 grams per ton gold and 8.86 grams per ton gold. Included in that was 0.55 grams per ton gold and 31 grams per ton silver over 1.4 meters. Another intersection had 1.4 meters of 0.80 grams per ton gold and 34 grams per ton silver. Again, this is the kind of hits that you expect to see above the boiling zone in an epithermal vein system. So I'm very excited about how big this project, how big the claim is, that we got 100% of it, that it's two of the veins have only seen limited drilling. They've intersected the kind of grades that you see above the boiling zone on an epithermal vein system. So I think that this is a project that we can really sink our teeth into to understand the known veins and also look for blind veins. So that's Serape and why I'm excited about getting 100% of it. You know, as I said, there's some exciting projects around it. Ermitaño was optioned from Origin to First Majestic, and they saw these same kind of grades near surface, kept drilling deeper and found a fantastic mine. Origin knows the area very well, as they were the ones who optioned it to First Majestic, and they retain a 2% royalty. So these guys were very early into it. And then you look at, to sort of take a step back, and this region is the first region that was ever mined in Mexico. So you've got a tremendously good area, big claim block, known veins on it, underexplored veins on it, with the potential to find more in areas where there's been some big success with these kind of veins. And also there's potential for copper in the area as well, which really excites me because I'm a big fan of the battery metals and the electrification of cars. So which brings up another topic. Advanced Lithium is our name. And the reason we changed it a number of months ago was because we had a series of 13 salars or salt lakes that had high potassium and lithium right at surface. We did a significant amount of sampling to show that the mineralization starts right at surface. And then recently, the Mexican government has decided to start a national lithium company, and they also want to govern, if you will, the lithium in the country. And so this pummeled our stock down to its current price of 2 cents, and made life quite difficult. I'm not as negative as the market is on what's happening with lithium in Mexico, simply because there is a strong mining law, and there's also a strong constitution. And in that constitution, the government is not allowed to retroactively change the mining law. So they can't go backwards and, you know, expropriate known claims. We have good claims, in good standing. We filed all of our stuff. We've done everything exactly the way that we're supposed to. So what I envision happening is now in the next 30 days or so, there will be a Mexican national lithium company, which will also govern lithium exploration and development in the country. I'm very optimistic that we're going to be able to get meetings with them. AMLO, the president of Mexico, said that national lithium company will be, the people that will run it will come from the Geological Survey of Mexico. Our head of exploration and development for our company is Jose de Jesus Parga. He ran the Geological Survey of Mexico for 30 years. So he knows everybody in the industry, everybody at the Geological Survey, right through government people at the local and state and national level. And what I hope to do is once that happens, once they start that national lithium company, I hope to have meetings with the people of the national lithium company and approach them on the idea that, you know, not only do we have lithium, but we also have potassium. And right now, the Mexican farmers have to import all of their potassium. And farming is a very big part of the economy of Mexico. And there's a lot of added cost in importing all their potassium. I've said to people recently that, yes, Mexico wants lithium, but they need potassium. I'm a Canadian who lives in Mexico, and I want to create mines here that create a lot of jobs. Our potassium and lithium deposits can do just that. One of the fears of the Mexican government and state governments is that all the lithium is going to go off to other countries and they're going to get the benefit of that. Being someone who lives in Mexico, I'm of a different mind than that. I would like to have all the lithium and the potassium stay right here in Mexico to create even more jobs, possibly creating batteries here with the lithium from Mexico, and also produce potassium our projects are right in the breadbasket of Mexico. So it's very close. We're very close to all key farming districts. And I think that could help the big farmers and the small farmers. And there's a lot of small farmers that can't even afford potassium. And so we also have boron, which is important for farmers. And so there's a good mix there. It's not just lithium, it's also potassium and also some boron in there as well. And so I want to approach the government, the state-owned lithium company, and talk about the potential to mine potassium and lithium right here in Mexico, and to make that stay here in Mexico. And another interesting wrinkle to this is that our lithium and potassium is contained in the clay and fine sand of these salt lakes. And we have access, the ability to use this new technology that was developed about an hour and a half from where I live at one of the most prestigious universities in Mexico. And the Dr. Perez Garibay, he came to me a number of years ago and said, hey, I've got a method here that I think can cheaply extract lithium and potassium from these clay and fine sand deposits. So we have this technology angle as well that is, I think, will be of interest to the Mexican lithium company. So in the meantime, while all that is playing out with the lithium and the potassium, now the Serape project has come along, and it has a lot of potential. So while we're working towards resolving the issue on the lithium and potassium side of the company, we're going to be able to sink our teeth into a very exciting gold and silver project. So, you know, in exploration, it can be good to be diversified. We've been able to liquidate our Kenya royalty and get some cash and get a really good project that I've studied epithermal veins for many years now. So I'm very excited about rolling up our sleeves and getting drilling at the Serape and the Chiltepin veins, and look for more veins in these in the Sonora Valley. which is very exciting for gold, silver, and copper. So that's your update. I wanted to talk about this recent news and what's happening with the lithium side of the company. And yeah, there you go. As always, you know, it's important for you to speak with your financial advisors and do your homework before making any investment decisions. You can find out a lot about Serape on the news release that we just put out, and also on Origin Royalties website. So do your homework, and I think you'll be excited about what we've got going on gold and silver, as well as lithium and potassium. On that note, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.